Yeah, she's on vacation or something. A little bit. All right, we'll call the meeting to order. We will start with a special recognition. Daryl?
Testing. Does this work? Chris? Oh, no, there it is. Chris had to wake up back there. All right, we got a little something we're going to do here at the Country Club, and a special recognition. Comes to our attention, we have a lot of people in the community do a lot of work. And then this goes back years. I want to tell a little story about a gentleman. 8.5 years ago, I was in the pro shop at Country Club next door. It was my third day, and I'm sitting there nervous, got a new job. And this guy comes up, and he comes up to the counter and goes, "I need a cart." And I said, "What's your name?" He says, "Mr. Grasmick." I said, "I don't see you on the T-sheet." He goes, "No, I need a cart." I said, "Mr. Grasmick, I don't see you on the T-sheet." I didn't know who he was. He didn't know who I was. And it went on for about 3 minutes. And Mr. Grasmick, very calm and collectively, looked at me and says, "Son," in the eyes, and says, "I need a cart. I am going to go do the rose bushes, weed eat, clean around the waterfall." I said, "Yes, Mr. Grasmick, he has a key. We'll see you later." That's how I first met Mr. Grasmick back in the day. He has done so much for Beta Vista Country Club, as well as serving on the board here as chairperson. I see him all the time, and I know he is going to be missed. He's going to play a little more golf. Right, Mrs. Grasmick? There we go. Jake, if you wouldn't mind coming up here, please. And as a token of our appreciation from the POA, from the board, we are going to put a stone up here at Country Club for all his hard work and countless hours he's spent out there. And I've seen many times he's by himself, and he is a dear friend to my family and to everybody. I appreciate you, and thank you so much. It'll be up in about another month, okay? And enjoy.
He is. He'd put you all to shame. And there's a reason for it. I'm Ruth Hatcher. I happen to be chair of the board this year, but more importantly, I served on the golf committee with Jake for many years. And I can honestly say, Jake, there is nobody else that has put in the time that you have in anything asked of you, and many times not asked of you. You went ahead and did it. You saw a need. You saw something that could change and make it better. The waterfall on number 2 is only a small example. People lived here for years and didn't know it was here. Jake cleaned it up. He changed things out there. He made it more visible. And all of a sudden, everybody said, "When did we put this waterfall in?" It simply found it. And it's things like that that are important when people step up and do things. He's been a one-man committee at the Country Club for many years when we have Friends of the Highlands, the lads and lassies, the people out at Dogwood, and Jake's been a one-man crew at the Country Club. So without any reservation at all, Jake, we thank you above and beyond anybody could have possibly have done.
Jake has done so much for my golf course superintendents over the years since I've been here. I know he did it before, but the one thing I really appreciated most for, whenever I had a rough day or any of my guys have a rough day, he would come by and cheer us up. He's the most positive guy I've ever seen, and I will always owe you gratitude for that, Jake.
Wow, this was not on my radar at all. We came to Bella Vista in the 80s, visiting friends, playing golf. At that time, had no idea that we would be retiring here. It came close to retirement and living up north, cold winter, and we decided to relocate here. Number of reasons: cost of living, property taxes, less than half of what we were paying, country club dues, way below what we were paying in the community. Besides my wife, family, religion, friends, we chose Bella Vista. And as you know, I love golf, and I like to have beautiful golf courses. I've golfed from the Northwest, California to Florida, all the southern states, and you know, I don't remember many scores, but I'll tell you, I remember the course, I'll remember signature holes, I'll remember beauty of courses. And as on the golf committee, when we first started, I heard these rumors. The rough is too long. The fairways haven't been mowed. The bunkers haven't been raked. We got rocks in them. And I was golfing here a couple, 3 years, and talking to Ruth, she talked me into the golf committee. And I got out and visited and worked, as Keith knows, with the course superintendents. And this I figured out. When a person came in and had a good score, everything was fine. When they did not have a good score, the rough hadn't been mowed on Monday morning by 8 o'clock. With all the shotguns we have, there is no way in the world in heaven that you have enough maintenance workers, enough equipment, enough hours to have everything done by 8 o'clock in the morning. There's no way. Also, I learned something very important. As we visited with a lot of officials around this country club and all of these courses, all the rounds we had, we get an excellent job. With Keith's direction, with all of the course superintendents, I don't know where you're going to find a better deal than we have right here. I really thank you a lot. So thank you, and like I said, this was not on my radar, but greatly appreciated, and thank you.
Loris, I'm not sure that you're going to appreciate the more time at home he's going to have or not, or if you're going to get to enjoy the golf with him. But thanks to you for all you've done to help us along the way also.
Thank you, Jake. With that, we'll move into course reports. Mr. Spencer?
I found out one thing this week. It's hard to find a maintenance worker in the office to talk to. They were all out on the course, but I did chase some of them down to make this report. I hope everyone's got a copy here that needs one. I've got some more if you need them. Kingswood, the merchandise sales for August was under budget, but so far this month they're above the weekly budget for this. Kingswood fairways and greens look pretty good considering the severe weather we had. I think the course was only closed for 2 days as compared to some of the others. There's Kingsdale, the biggest news is a severe wind that changed all the courses in Bella Vista, particularly those out west. But relative to Kingswood and Burksdale, they had 4 large trees blown down, and many smaller were blown over. They're still cleaning up the last time I talked to them. Burksdale actually had 7 more trees blown down, and so they're all working good. One of the issues that's been brought to my attention is that a lot of the workers are on Burksdale cleaning up things when it might be more prudent to be at Kingswood. I don't know whether that's something that Keith has noticed or not, but it's been noticed by some people that wonder why we're doing things when things need to be done more at Kingswood, which is we're playing on. I understand that Burksdale needs to be kept nice and tidy as much as possible, but under this storm conditions, I think maybe we ought to slack off a little bit. That's about all I got.
Can I say something to that? First of all, we started at Burksdale with an outside contractor on the tree removal, And the reason I started there was mainly because we wanted to be sure, even though I checked his references and know he had worked on a golf course, I wanted him to work on a golf course that wasn't a golf course, that didn't have golfers around him, to be sure he knew what to do while he was out there. And after we did that, we moved him straight over to Kingswood. So one other thing that may come up that I've heard about, you know, we still maintain over there because the goal is to reopen that golf course. You're going to hear a report later on ideas to get that 9 holes open. One of the specific areas that we have heard about is, well, we don't know why you're raking bunkers over there. So I just want to tell you that we rake bunkers there once a week. Takes one guy 2 hours. The reason we do that, because if we don't rake bunkers, they would be growing up with weeds, and it would take more effort and cost us more to get it back when we decide to reopen, not to mention the looks of the golf course from the road. It might have looked abandoned, or like we have decided not to reopen it. So that's why we do that. As far as the tree cleanup, once the contractor cuts the trees down, the only work that my guys are doing over there is to blow stuff to the side so we can continue to mow grass, because that's what a lot of people forget. Well, after we got to get the trees off, we still got to mow grass this time of year. So that is the reason we spent over there. So I will give a complete report on where we're going with the trees from here forward, but I just wanted to take an opportunity to address that specifically.
Thanks, Keith. Yes, Mayor.
I have a comment about Kingswood and directly the issue that I have is when you see them raking the bunkers at Burksdale and the weeds in front of 14 and 7 on the Little Creek inlet that goes to the Big Sugar Creek, the weeds have gotten awfully tall, and if you hit your ball in there, you're not going to find it. And it slows down play, slows down play and everything. So it would be nice if we could get 2 hours of weed whipping on that and be done with it, knock it down a little bit.
We will look at that and try to do a better job at that. The other thing I need to say is we only have 3 employees at Burksdale right now anyway, so we don't have a lot. But your point's well taken. I will get with Reed and we'll see if we can handle some of those areas sooner than later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I have the country club, and of course it had severe damage done. A lot of trees, large trees, and they are in the process. They've been working. I know today they were out there all day moving tree stumps and branches and everything over to Tanyard Creek area. The course itself is in excellent shape. I mean, the greens putt very well. The fairways, the grass is thick, the ball lays, on top of the grass. It's just in excellent shape. I still have a problem with the cleanliness of the bathrooms, but other than that, we're dealing with that. The rest of it is excellent.
I have Scottsdale, and I think Scottsdale is feeling very fortunate about the weather that they got compared to what everybody else got. Kyle said they only had 14 trees down, and they took the opportunity to take down a couple of dead ones that were already there. But I think he says they're 75% cleaned up from the storm, which is pretty good. The course is in good shape. The greens are rolling good. The sales are, I think the first 9 days of September, they were at 45% of their budget, so sales are going very good. Golf is going good, so everything's good at Scottsdale.
Next thing, Mark.
The Highlands, speaking to Alex up there, the rounds were doing good in August, except the course due to the storm was closed the last part of August. So you lost some days there. Beginning of September, their sales are up, golf rounds are up. They're doing really well in the beginning of September. The golf tournaments, the high school tournaments are doing, they're pretty much filled up throughout the week, so they're doing really well out through there. The range is being utilized twice as much now, so they're doing great out there with Alex. Bill in the pub, he pours a great drink, and he's doing really well up there, and has a good golf crowd and happy hour people up there. Speaking of Greg, we looked around the golf course. He has done an incredible job cleaning up all the debris, blowing everything out off the golf course, then coming back, raking up all those twigs that were embedded in the greens, fairways, and they're still at it every day. The front 9, they get most of it cleaned up except for hole number 6, which they still have some trees to move. On the back 9, that's a different story. Number 13 through 17, they're still going to be out there cleaning massive trees out and dropping it on the parking lot, the access parking lot on hole 18, outside of hole 18, for grinding that up. They're working at that, but what he has done to go ahead and get that course back up running is incredible.
Yeah.
And they'll be working for, through the fall, just continuing cleanup.
I just want to add something that we have seen, and this is for everybody. We've got groups out there that play, and all the storm damage and all the trees that have been moved over to the side, play it is ground under repair. We've got signs up there that says, be careful, stay out of it. And I promise you, we opened Country Club the first day, and the first guy teed off, and he's left-handed, hit it to the left into the trees, and I look down out of the pro shop office, and he's on top of the trees trying to find his golf ball. So play it as ground under repair, 2 clubs relief, nearest point, and play on. Don't go in it. It is unsafe. So if everybody can just tell your groups, do the same thing. We've got the WGC playing their club champs, and that's the way we're playing it.
And Greg, he said that there's at least 120 trees so far. Every time he cuts one, he finds some more behind there. So he's got his work cut out for him.
Yeah. Thanks, Mark. You don't have one. Gary?
Yeah, we weathered the storm very well at Tanyard. No trees down.
Way to go, Gary.
It's everything seems to be in good shape. It's clean and organized. Hillary's doing a nice job. The only a couple things I've noted on the report, just keep in front of the committee, is the need for nets along the left-hand side. And we know that it's a budget issue right now, but I don't want to forget it. And also the parking sign. So I'll keep noting that until we can accomplish those 2 things. The other thing that I was talking to one of the workers there, Daniel, that talking about the change in the procedure for filling in divots. Tanyard is not putting sand out at the hitting stations. Now they're using the ball picker to fill the divots after he picks balls. I don't think we're doing it at Scottsdale or at Highlands. We still have sand at the Highlands, and I don't know if that's a prudent use of the ball picker's time, but I personally like to take care of my own divots when I do it. So I just wonder if there's if we can put some sand out there, and that the ball picker just goes through and takes a look at it afterwards and make sure that the divots are filled. The concern was that the people were just piling the sand on the divots, and it was causing more of a problem than afterwards. But I was thinking that if we can give the opportunity to do it, and they just go and just look at it before they have to mow it, might be a better use of manpower. The other thing is we're talking to Daniel again on the balls that are in the left-hand side in the trees. He says there's thousands of them in there, and I was wondering if I could organize, if it would be okay to organize some of the golf groups to see if we get some volunteers for a morning to come out and help pick that left-hand side.
I can answer that because I've worked down there and actually had my office out there a while. I wouldn't let anybody in there right now, as green, as thick as it is, snakes and everything like that. So normally at this time of year, and Keith will attest to this, everything's dying off because we don't have any rain, but we've had so much rain. So we do have balls. That is normally my picker's job during winter. We get them in there and they pull them all out during winter and re-clean them and re-rock and roll. We might reach out to you when it dies off. I like that idea. If we can get a community in there, we'll just have to figure it out. That'll be good to go.
Yeah, I understand that.
And we did pull the buckets because the rain was starting to bubble with the divots. So we pulled the buckets to try to get it more stable moving into winter.
That's it.
Great, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Everybody said something, but on behalf of the committee in general, kudos to Keith, your staff, Greg, I know I'm going to leave somebody out, Rob, Scott, Reed, all the supers for getting the storm stuff done. Highlands was closed 2 days after all the trees that we all had out there. Amazing work. So thank you to those guys. Once again, they came through for the golfing community. So kudos to them, Keith. Daryl. Yes. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to go pretty quick through this because I've got a longer spiel with Birksdale. I've got my reports in there. Golf rounds, we're down 4,181 compared to this time last year. The breakdown is member rounds are down 5,466. Non-members are up 1,285. Our revenue continues to trail last year. Golf cart revenue is down a little bit. Guest revenue is up close to 5,000, and merchandise keeps staying ahead over close to 25,000 over year to date. So we keep moving up on that, and we'll move on.
Would you mind waiting until our comment section? Oh, but yes, hold that till we get down there, but absolutely you can. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to something that we talked about last meeting was Birksdale and how we can reroute it, work on it. We got all the emails in, and you guys gave me a task to get out there. I took Mr. Walshall, Mr. Keith, Mr. Reed, and we went out there on a rainy day to double check and make sure all our safety aspects were all confined and what we can do to get it open. So attached to your package, you'll see on the last page, is kind of a summary. I'm going to go through it quickly, kind of hit the points, what we're concerned about, and the next step would be for the committee to say, yeah, we agree with you, and then we'll take it to the board to go on and start this process of fixing it, because it's going to cost a little bit of money. Not fixing the bridge, we're working on a different way to do it. So if we look at it starting at the top, we're going to keep the main holes open, 1 through 9. We're not going to have to cut anything back. We're going to keep 9 holes open in the current order that we have. The biggest issue we have is getting the players from hole number 9 back to the clubhouse safely. That is the biggest issue, and I was worried about it. So with Keith's enlightenment, does Mr. Walshall, we all kind of visited, went around it. So if you go look at the first point, from number 9 green, you're going to follow the creek all the way around and back up down to the bottom of hole number 2. From hole number 3's green to the 200-yard mark, we're going to put a 6-foot fence right near the creek. So one side will have traffic way for the people heading back, and the other side will have the people just playing down normal like they're going down number 3. It's done on other courses. It does work. The biggest thing is we have a sign, you stay on the right side of the fence, and you should all be good to go. And we're going to tuck it away to that creek so it looks good, and who knows, it'll be a pleasant drive back. So that's one of the issues. The biggest issue then is once you get up on number 1 is how you get down number 1, because those balls are flying right into you. So we're going to drive around the back of the green, come around the side, and we're going to have to put a little fence in there until we get down to the parking lot. When you get down the parking lot, we can feed the car traffic onto the parking lot, and they can go to their carts. So those are the 2 big issues. That's going to require a 6-foot fence as well. The hole on number 2 that we were concerned, and I was concerned about, and rightfully so, it is steep. We're going to remove the poles. If you're going down, if everybody could picture it going down, there's some poles on the left-hand side. And then we built in about a 2-foot wall, and the poles on the inside where the carts go down, we're going to remove those poles. It's not necessary to have those poles for safety. It was put up there as an extra precaution. But then we put the speed bumps up, which everyone moves slowly anyway. So we're going to remove those. What that allows us to do is that widens it. Now we can get 2 carts up and down. There's some debris on the right-hand side that's got some rocks coming down. Reed says that's no problem. He's going to clean that out, clear it out, and there's one section where the concrete gets a little knock in there and kind of make it go down. We will have signs up top, slow down, be careful, and all that. And David Walshall came up with a good idea, and I don't know what to call them, but is these little blocks that we're going to put down the center of the path that if you hit them, it's going to bump. They're basically slow down and keep in your lane blocks. There's a word for them, and the city uses them all right. I couldn't find it on the internet, except I know what they look like. So it's a safety dividing block is what it's called. We'll put those in. So that's number 2. We went up and down it that day with Keith on the water. The only thing we have an issue is a gas cart might not be able to get up it. And people ask me why. Gas carts are lighter than our battery carts. Gas is light. So that whole engine is smaller. It doesn't weigh as much. I mean, it's significantly lighter. So what we need to do is, my recommendation is only POA carts. And here's the other reason. If you have an old electric cart, it doesn't give out the same horsepower as well, and the governor can be tuned. It won't get up either. So the last thing we need to do is someone going down that hill in a private cart, playing getting number 9, coming back, and then we get a phone call. I got my cart stuck. I don't know how to get out of it. So safety first. Safety's looked at it. We've looked at it both ways. It does work. Moving on down, one thing that was brought to my attention, and this is justified, is tee times on Birksdale will have to be an hour and a half behind Kingswood. And the reason that is with that, there's no way that Keith's crew that's preparing Kingswood for major play on 18 holes can get up and get hole number 1 ready. That is mowing tee boxes, moving tee box, mowing greens, getting them ready. They have to get Kingswood ready first because where the building is, and then they'll come up. So golf operations will delay the starts on Birksdale, but it's positive. I think it's a good way. We can do something. So if you agree with our proposal, the next step for us to do I've got to get estimates, bids, got to get 3 for the fences, some of the rock work around it, some signage, and then we got to look at a timeline for them to get in and get those built. Once we get that, I will present it to the board because it is expenditure. We're going to get the money approval for that. In my eyes, I look at early next year, and we'll be good to go. But we got to kind of see what we got going on. Open for questions.
On the hill from 1 green to 2, and that's also the hill coming back up, are you going to widen that with cement or gravel?
I just said we're going to take the poles out,
right?
And you can fit down 2 carts up and down that, no problem.
Oh, even on the existing path, without changing the path? Okay.
Yes,
Do you have any idea what the budget for this is going to be, even an estimate?
Not until I get my bids. Once you guys, there was no point me going in and getting everybody in to do it if we didn't have agreement from the JAC.
I personally like the proposal. I would like to see numbers before we say, yes, 100% go.
Agreed.
Everybody else.
Any discussions, and the biggest deal is making sure we can all see how we get back up and down. You all golfers, that's what this is about. I want to get feedback from this before I get fence people out and then get Reed working on a project because we had the storm and we still got that all going on. Any questions?
Well, we need to not tape off, but at least paint off like a drive away for the carts once we get into the main parking lot area. I mean, we're talking a little expense, not a great deal. In other words, a cart path, basically.
Okay, so what's going to happen?
Say carts only in this area.
You're talking about number 1, heading back to the pro shop, right?
Right,
When we get you on the road. So there will be a bicycle trail there, and we
Okay.
will be repainting that road here and when the weather's correct. And all we will do is that'll be a shared path for 150 yards.
Kind of like what they do at Dogwood when you're crossing the road.
Correct,
Okay.
exactly. And we'll have signs up there
Oh,
and
good.
everything like that.
Just a comment, that I think this is a good response to the meeting we had to
Absolutely.
try and open up Brooksville at a reduced cost.
Yep.
And it solves a lot of the problems without having to build a bridge. And so I think this is a very good response. Good
I
job.
agree. Yeah.
I agree 100%.
Yep. Thanks,
Okay.
Darrell. Yes, go ahead, Ruth.
Concerned at all with morning and weather and being wet there.
No, really, good question. That's why we went out in the rain. We planned it that way. No, we didn't. But it worked out really good. It's called luck of the draw when we show up and it's pouring with rain, and it gave us a deal to try it with the heavier carts. And then the gas carts, we got to see what a gas cart does. It spins out a little bit, so we're not taking that risk. So if this comes back and the board passes it and it's minimal expense, we'll get that open. It will help, especially with the 9-hole groups, because they're tired of playing Brittany. And this will be good for next summer. But now I've got to get some work and get people out here to get it going.
I think an hour and a half play delay after Kingswood that's a minimal.
I think it's very reasonable to get a golf course open.
Absolutely.
You know, it wouldn't be detriment to the golf course if you tee off on number 1 and it's not ready. You know, greens haven't been cut, everything's ready, and you go to number 2 and you get on that first green and the green's all cut. You can't do that. It's not fair. So
It's
we'll
like
make
Jake
it
said, it depends on if your score's good for the other 8 or not.
True too. True too. All right. So everybody in agreement? I'm going to move forward and get this rolling.
We don't need to vote on this. do
Yep,
we?
I'd say good job. You've
need
obviously
a
considered a
proposal.
lot of things, and I
Yeah,
think
we need
you've got
to
a
see
good plan.
numbers.
I'd like to see you go forward with it.
All right. Thank you.
Good. Thanks, Darrell and team.
All right, we got a couple upcoming events. If everybody sees right now, we got sharing and caring going on at Dogwood and Kingswood the next 2 days. We will put 620 golfers through on those golf courses. And we got prostate cancer going on Saturday. It is at Kingswood. We got that course full. We got the rally coming up. We got the mixers coming back. If anybody hasn't seen that, the entry forms will be out next week. We listened to the community and they wanted the mixer back, so we're bringing it back in. It'll be held here at the Country Club. So we'll get that out, get everybody involved, get signed up. We're going to do some different stuff on the mixer like we used to do. It's for couples and it's a fun event, and we're going to utilize the bar, and we're going to have a horse race on the Saturday and bring in the college football atmosphere to it as well. And then we got a veterans will be the final event in November.
What's the dates on that fall
You're
mixer?
going to
What's
ask
the-
that.
You don't have the dates yet?
It's late October.
Late October?
Yes, sir. The entry form's about to come. I've got the date somewhere, but the entry form's about to come out. Okay.
Thanks, Darrell. Keith?
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pass a little document around. It's kind of, we called it Fun Facts of Trees. It's not really all that fun, but it was. These numbers were on the e-blast last Friday. So if you didn't see the e-blast, this is the information that was on there. Before I go to the storm cleanup, though, I want to point out a couple of other things. I think that I'm really proud of those guys, and I know y'all have recognized them. We appreciate that. But you know, you got to remember, you know, we've had 2 flooding events this year, and then we've got all these trees down. So I would say Kingswood and Country Club are in fantastic condition, knowing that happened. If you go up to the Highlands, we have had, in a 12-month span, we've had 80 inches of rain. The yearly average is about 40. So between that and the trees down, you know, they've done a fantastic job up there keeping the golf courses open. So, and we've had a lot of golfers that have come by and talked to our staffs and the people cleaning up and thank them. And as a matter of fact, we have a family or a couple here on number 1 at Bella Vista Country Club that's gone to the extent that they're going to have the country club crew over there on Friday and cook for them at their house, which I think is really shows the appreciation. It makes the crew members feel really good. So you see guys out there working, you tell them thank you. I know they really appreciate it. So that's what I would like to start the meeting with, because they've worked hard. The other thing I want to mention before we get in the storm is that greens aeration in the fall is coming up. There will be something in the e-blast in a couple weeks, so I can remind people it's coming, so you don't bring a guest to play a golf course the day after we punched holes in it. That's never fun for anyone. So it will start at Bella Vista Country Club on the 26th and 27th of September, and the last golf course will be Kingswood on October 7th and 8th. That is all listed on the webpage on which golf courses on which days, and so you can kind of plan accordingly. What's good about the Scottsdale course then during that is you can go over there and play, and there aren't any holes there, so I'm thinking Scottsdale is going to be pretty popular for about 10 days right there for sure. Okay, let's just talk about the storm damage, the handout there. I think you can read that. I don't need to read all that information to you, but it's pretty amazing how many big trees we had down with root balls of 30-inch diameter trees, some of them up to 40 that weigh, those root balls probably weigh a couple tons. So it's pretty incredible. I really believe that the two worst golf courses were here and Highlands. Highlands probably the worst. Couple reasons for that. There's a lot more trees closer to the golf course, so it impacted the golf course more, and all of that rain, because when the ground was wet, it allowed it to blow over easier. Matter of fact, when we went out and looked at some of the stumps, there was water standing in those stump holes, and they're only like 4 or 5. Well, they're probably 3 feet deep, so there's not a lot holding them. So when one went down, it pushed many more down, and Greg found that out as we did at Country Club. We thought there was 1 tree there, and there was 4 when you start pulling them back, because they just a domino effect. So it's pretty tremendous amount of damage for a 2-hour storm. What I would say is the cleanup process right now, we ended up hiring 2 contractors to do the cut-up work because we don't have the personnel or the skill set to do that safely. So we brought in one company, as I mentioned earlier, that I did reference on from outside of our area, because our normal company here that was working for us was doing your homes and everything else, so he was very limited. So we started them on Burksdale. They did a good job. That company did Burksdale, Kingswood, and Bella Vista Country Club. Rains Tree Service has done the 2 up north, and we're still working. Rains has got probably 5 days left to get everything cut up there. We started this week, to Mary's point, hauling off here. That haul off to the 2 sites are for Tanyard, and then the cell tower lot up at Highlands is where that's going to go. All the haul off is being done either with the few people on my crew that can operate that equipment or the MAC division. So it's going to take a little while to get all of it hauled off because we have a limited number of people. We felt that was an okay decision because it's to the side and you can play golf, so we didn't need to hire a bunch of outside contractors getting around on the golf course are going to tear stuff up in the end of the day. So we're going to do that. As soon as we get the country club's debris cleared, then we're going to start trying to determine what the heck we're going to do with those big dumps. I don't really have an answer for you. We're going to get rid of them somehow. Don't know for sure how we're going to do that because we don't have any equipment that can pick them up. We had some stumps like this up against the old bridge at Burksdale last year, and to move those and load them and haul them off, it took a crane. We don't really want to do a crane, so we're going to try to find a better way to do it. We might dig a hole, turn them upside down, try burying them if that's doable. We might try to push them back up, dig a hole behind them a little bit, push them back up, put dirt around and let them set a little while where they can set in and cut them down and try to grind them. There's all kinds of things we're looking at. I don't have an answer for you how we're going to get them out yet. The first priority for us was to get all the debris otherwise off the golf course. It gives it a much cleaner look. So that is the goal of cleanup going forward.
Keith, so this is not going to create another stump dump, is it? In the interim, it might.
No, see the grind. Let me tell you what they're going to do with all the debris, and then I'll address your question specifically. We're putting on 2 sites, and we have a contractor found out of Rogers. It's a logger basically, and they have big grinders. He came out and looked at our stuff, and he said, "Well, I can grind a 30-inch diameter tree, 100 feet long, in 1 minute." So you don't want to get very close to that grinder, is what I'm saying. So we're stockpiling it because he can work a lot faster to grind it up than we can get it there. So we have to get all the debris to our locations before we bring him in. They will not grind stumps because there's too much. Even if we could get them there, it would fit in that machine and it could be ground, but it ruins their equipment because of the rocks and the dirt and everything else in the stumps. So if we cannot bury them on site or grind them, and we have to haul some of them off, we will have to take them to this guy's site in Rogers, so we'd have to pay to haul them. So long story short, we're not dumping them anywhere on our property. Okay, we're not doing that. He takes all of that. They charge, his deal is for a 8 by 8 by 48 foot container, that's $400 to grind every one of those containers. And then the chips he takes as part of the deal. That's why that's cheaper than some of the other ones that would come out and grind. It's a portable machine. He'll come into whichever one we're ready for first, probably Tanyard, grind all that up, and then go up to Scottsdale. Tanyard, we might use the back 2/3 of the lot, and if we fill that all the way up, 2/3 of that lot, if you can picture how big it is, filled up 8 feet high, he can grind that in about 2 days. So he'll get out of there pretty quick once we get ready for him. But he won't move in and out. He will not charge us a move-in charge to come to Tanyard and then move to Highlands, but he would start to think about charge if we go back and forth and have him come back. So that's why we're trying to get everything in one place at one time. So that's how that's going to work. No, this is this guy does road clearing for the state and things like that, so he knows how to get rid of all that big stuff. That's what he uses the chips and sells them. There's a pile down there that's bigger than this building of stuff. And the good thing about this too, we were worried about where we were going to take some of our debris for future floods. We can haul it to him and he'll take it for like $40 for a dump truck load, and then they grind all that up. So this may be a place for us to take future debris on a small scale. Or if we have a big, heaven forbid, flood event, we do the same thing. We pile it all up in a parking lot and bring them out here. We go through the process again. So we think we may have found a possible solution for future debris of that level. And of course, in these piles too, by the way, it won't just be golf course, because if you were out at Branchwood, there was 10 or 12 big oaks over there that have been hauled to that site up there, and then all the other trails and the different things, different parts of the property. So it's kind of a joint effort between all of the POA properties to those sites. So that's where we are. Well, we cut everything up to 9-foot lengths so it fits in our big dump trucks. Our limiting factor is operators, because you have to get on the road, and in order to get on the road, you have to have a CDL. And we don't have very many CDL operators. We have more equipment than we have CDL operators. And the MAC division also has to decide if they're going to help me clean off Country Club today, or are they going to go to Branchwood and clean the trail, or are they going to go do their other jobs that they're supposed to be doing. So they have been very helpful for me. We've worked very closely together because we work together all the time, and they are committed to get the Country Club course cleaned off. Then we're going to move to Kingswood. Scottsdale, he's able to move most of his own self. The good thing about Scottsdale is there is a place there where we can burn legally, and the fire department's good with that. We didn't have hardly anything at Dogwood. What little we had, they have a burn pile there that they allow, the city and the fire department allows us to burn. So Highlands is the other big one. Highlands is a challenge because to get big dump trucks around that golf course are a problem. So we are looking at another company that can bring a smaller grinder and drive it onto the golf course and chip it on the golf course, and then Greg could use it under some of the trees with some of those holes, things like that. So those are the kind of things we're trying to get organized to get it cleaned up. I would be very happy if by the end of October we had all the debris off, not the stumps, but all the other debris off and ground and out of here. That would be a win. I would not be surprised if the stumps are hanging around into next year before we figure out what to do with all of those.
How much does this storm cost us?
Right now we have all the trees cut up at Burksdale, Kingswood, Scottsdale, Country Club, and what little bit we had to do at Dogwood. I've turned in for payment about $47,000 for the tree company. We probably have another $25,000 or more at Highlands, and then however many of those 8 by 8 by 48 containers we have at $400 a piece, however many of those we have. And then if we have to bring somebody in for the stumps. So it could be 100, plus or minus a little bit, ballpark. That's my report.
If those stumps hang around very long, you think there's going to be a need to mark those as ground under repair. So I was thinking about number 17. I know it's a big old stump about halfway out, and it's not marked, but we at least realized it's ground under repair. So I don't know, but I thought, well, they wouldn't mark them if they're going to be cleaned up right away. But if they're going to stay there for a year, we might need to put spray paint or something, or a sign or something.
Or our local rule.
Well, just a local rule, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, what we'll do is we'll do a local rule in January for the year, something like that. It's just like up at Briarbrook in Coles Junction, just on the other side, they got taken out by a tornado. They're not going to get that all cleaned up for years, so they made a local rule.
And you did bring, Keith, you brought up another division that we should thank along with your staff, is MAC, because I know they're busting their heinies to help us and all the other people around Bella Vista. So kudos to MAC, the MAC group also. Real quick, we get a update on how the Brittany tournament went. You're on the subcommittee?
We had nothing to do with the
I didn't know
tournament.
if Danielle had said anything and you
No,
and
I
Paul.
have no
has-
idea what they,
Okay.
how they did.
Susan's not
I
here,
know
so
that they
Susan
had
would
the
have known.
nine-hole tournament, the same time we had the Dogwood tournament going on. I know there was a little confusion about some of the signs. Other than that, I think it was a great success. I
Okay.
mean, I think they raised quite a bit of money.
They had 11 or 14 teams, I can't remember which, but I know they put them. 11 teams.
11
They put them, they started them off an hour and a half later or something, but they only played 9 holes.
Right.
So it worked real well because they could get them in and have their lunch and then get
Good.
them out before the 18 holes came in, so it was well planned.
Okay. Well,
They did a good job.
They had lunch and awards and were gone when we finished on the 18 hole.
Good.
And 130 players in the 18 hole. And it went really smooth. Well done.
excellent. Good. That's good to hear.
Can I say one more thing about the sites for the debris and the golf course cleanup?
No.
Well, I read on a post on one of the Facebook pages where it was suggested that you take your stuff from your house and put it on the golf course. Please don't do that, because now the city is allowing you to put it at the curb and they'll pick it up. So please try to help us out by not adding to the pile, or if you see somebody that's doing that. Well, they'll take debris. But I mean, we're not going to get the stump on the golf course either. So I meant to say debris. Any debris that you've got cut up, any size. And they also will let anybody that wants to, on any of their easements, which is all the roads, like there's a lot of trees still to be cut up at Highlands, they are allowing people to get in there and do what they want for firewood. We do not allow anybody to come onto our property or into our 2 collection sites to do firewood for liability reasons.
Good point. Thank you. Tom's not here. Board liaisons, Jerry, Mary? Yeah. Thanks, Jerry. Ruth?
Other than, thank you to management, both Daryl and Keith, for making changes this last week for what they had to do. And it was not a situation which you can plan for, just kind of hit you in the face and you had to adapt to it as we went, and you both did a yeoman's job. We appreciate it.
Yep, sure. Good. Yes, sir. You're up. Yes, sir. Sorry to cut you off earlier, but go ahead. Go ahead.
No problem. It's just a quick question. Frank Kennedy. So all I want to know is, Daryl, on these numbers here, I assume these are kind of the official record of rounds that is used by the board or used by anybody. My only question is can you add how many days of playable golf on a course? Because, I mean, like Birchdale right now, people in a year from now are going to look at this and go, man, nobody's playing Birchdale. Why the hell we got Birchdale open? Well, I'm sorry. go
Mr.
ahead.
Kennedy, yeah, that's a good question. So when we close Birchdale, in the minutes, it states that we close Birchdale to open later. So you can look on the minutes of these meetings, and it states there. that it is closed, and I keep all the records as far as that goes. As far as playable days, weather-wise and that,
I'm
you
not
can't
talking
do.
about maintenance or playable
Yeah.
days. I'm just talking about Birchdale being closed. Dogwood was closed for the stump dump fire for what, a week, 2
Yep,
weeks?
that's
something
all,
like
all in
that.
the minutes, and we keep record of that as we move forward.
And I understand it's in the minutes,
Mm-hmm.
but I had a discussion with one of the board members one day about rounds of golf, and he disagreed with me, and then he came back a week later and said, no, I was right, and I was using these, not minutes. No one's gonna go back and look at minutes. They're gonna look at these numbers right here. And all I'm asking is there not a way just to track how many playable days,
Okay, I'll look into that.
you know, and to me, that's a good number just to show whether, you know, to me, this is kind of out of context because you're saying we're down in rounds, but how does that compare to the other years in days that we could have played golf or not played golf on those courses?
Yeah, we have 2 weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago, 2 meetings ago or so, we've had this conversation, I think, and it was, and Gary, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you were more weather related than I don't want to say catastrophic event, but kind of catastrophic, whether we lost greens at Scottsdale or the situation we had last week or 2 weeks
Yeah.
ago, the Dogwood
I
situation.
mean, Highlands was
maybe
closed
the
for
bigger.
2 days, which is, I mean, I applaud you for it being just 2 days, but it was still closed for 2 days in the numbers. I mean, how many days has Scottsdale been closed because we had to tarp it and do all the things that for Scottsdale? So, I mean, I love the numbers. I think the numbers tell a good story, but I think the thing that's really missing is how many days did we really have an opportunity to play golf on the courses?
The asterisks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, I'll look at that.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's all.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I moved here in '93, and the main attraction of Bella Vista then was low cost of living and low cost of golf. We still have relatively low cost of living. We no longer have low cost of golf. When I moved here, there was approximately 10,000 people, and in '94, we had well over 300,000 rounds of golf. Now we got, what, 30,000 people, and we got 40% chance of that, 40% of that. So, it seemed like over there, every time we raise the fees, the golf rounds go down. Golf was never intended to be profitable in Bella Vista. That's what the assessment dollars were for. So I know the $25 at 2 o'clock, I think that was pretty popular, wasn't it? I don't know. I'd suggest maybe we look into 8 rounds for $200 and make the card good for 6 months or something like that. And so anyway, I'm glad to hear about Birchdale. One thing I suggest, at the top of the cart path, we might put a bell up there to ring when the people get done.
We talked about that, and the person that lives in those condos all over there would sure love us.
Thanks for your comment. And the golf, relating to golf, you know, the assessment, 2020 assessment plan does lower the golf fees. So we are also going to look at the, like we talked about, we have talked about it, we've thrown around this committee a couple times, punch cards and different things. So, but the 2020 plan definitely addresses the golf prices, and they will be coming down if it passes. I agree, I do too.
But the
I do too.
demographics have changed.
The demographics have
considerably.
changed a little bit too, Murray, you're correct. That is correct, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Thank you for your comment. Yes, sir.
Tom Burton. Keith, this is for you. With all the debris and all the cleanup and all the things that have happened, there's one area I think we've overlooked that needs to be looked at closely. There are 2 properties on the Highlands on number 12. Those yards are a mess. They were a mess before the trees went down, okay?
You know,
I moved a bunch of trees over there.
We saw that. We saw the tractor march. We had 21 trees between us. Is that right? We cleaned up, and I know Mark Deal's neighbors are really glad that the chainsaw's not starting at 6:30 in the morning anymore. Yeah, it was. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Tom, for your comments. Huh? You had 8? It was crazy. It blew right through. Yep. Anybody else? Any members? Guests? Nope. No old business, no new business. So next announcement is basically our next meeting, October 9th, here, same time. And then we will be discussing if we want to go to 8:30 or 8 o'clock in the morning and when we want to do that. So October will definitely be the same time, and then we'll discuss what we want to do for the winter. Okay. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.